High above us in the frigid reaches of the atmosphere, a drama of epic proportions is about to unfold. The polar vortex, a swirling mass of cold air that normally keeps winter's chill locked away near the poles, is predicted to split in two. This rare event has the potential to unleash extreme winter weather across North America, plunging us into a deep freeze. Imagine the polar vortex as a giant spinning top, whirling around the North Pole. This massive cyclone of cold air acts as a barrier, keeping frigid Arctic air contained. But sometimes this well-balanced system is disrupted. When the stratosphere, the layer of atmosphere above the troposphere where we live, experiences a sudden warming, it can disrupt the polar vortex. This phenomenon, known as a Sudden Stratospheric Warming (SSW) event, can cause the polar vortex to weaken, wobble, and even split apart. As we brace ourselves for the potential impacts of this rare event, it's essential to understand the forces at play high above us. The coming weeks will reveal whether this split in the polar vortex will bring a mild winter or unleash winter's fury upon us. The polar vortex is a natural feature of Earth's atmosphere. It's not a recent phenomenon or a sign of climate change, rather, it's a constant presence, a silent guardian that helps regulate our planet's climate. Picture a massive whirlpool of cold air, spinning counterclockwise high above the North Pole. This swirling mass of air, known as the polar vortex, acts as a giant refrigerator, keeping the Arctic region cold and influencing weather patterns across the northern hemisphere. The polar vortex is held in place by the temperature difference between the cold Arctic air and the warmer air further south. This temperature gradient creates a strong jet stream, a fast-flowing river of air that encircles the polar vortex, keeping it contained. However, this delicate balance can be disrupted. When the stratosphere warms suddenly, it weakens the jet stream, causing it to meander and buckle. This weakening of the jet stream can cause the polar vortex to wobble, stretch, and even split apart, unleashing Arctic air southward. High above the familiar troposphere where weather patterns dance and clouds drift, lies a serene layer of the atmosphere known as the stratosphere. Normally, the stratosphere is characterized by stable, stratified layers of air, with temperatures increasing with altitude. However, occasionally, this tranquil region experiences a dramatic event, a sudden stratospheric warming, SSW. During an SSW event, temperatures in the stratosphere can rise by as much as 50 degrees Celsius, or 90 degrees Fahrenheit in just a few days. This rapid warming disrupts the usual west-to-east flow of the polar vortex. Imagine a spinning top being nudged off balance. The polar vortex begins to wobble and distort. In some cases, the vortex can even split into two or more smaller vortices. These fragmented vortices, no longer confined to the polar regions, can meander south, bringing frigid Arctic air and extreme winter weather to lower latitudes, including North America, Europe, and Asia. Imagine the polar vortex as a spinning top, holding the cold air at bay. Now, envision a sudden jolt, a disruption in the atmosphere, causing the top to wobble and eventually split apart. This is the essence of a polar vortex split, a rare event with significant implications for weather patterns. When the polar vortex splits, it's as if winter's grip has loosened its hold on the Arctic, allowing frigid air to escape southward. These fragmented vortices, no longer confined to the polar regions, can meander across the northern hemisphere, bringing with them the potential for extreme winter weather. For North America, a split polar vortex often means a southward dip in the jet stream, allowing Arctic air to plunge deep into the United States and Canada. This can lead to prolonged periods of below-average temperatures, heavy snowfall, and an increased risk of winter storms. The impact of a split polar vortex is not always immediate. It can take days or even weeks for the effects to be felt, as the fragmented vortices meander and interact with other weather systems. Section 5. Winter's Fury Unleashed, Impacts on the United States. As the fractured remnants of the polar vortex drift southward, the United States braces for the potential onslaught of winter's fury. The impacts can be far-reaching, affecting millions across the nation. Imagine a blast of Arctic air sweeping across the Great Plains, sending temperatures plummeting and bringing with it the threat of blizzards and ice storms. Cities like Chicago, known for their harsh winters, could experience record-breaking snowfall and bitterly cold temperatures. The East Coast, too, is vulnerable to the effects of a split polar vortex. Nor'easters fueled by the influx of cold air and moisture from the Atlantic Ocean could bring heavy snowfall, coastal flooding, and strong winds to major cities like New York and Boston. Even typically, mild regions like the Southeast are not immune. While snow may be less likely, a split polar vortex can still bring a sharp drop in temperatures, increasing the risk of frost and freeze damage to crops and infrastructure. Section 6. A shivering north impacts on Canada. As the polar vortex fragments and its icy breath spills southward, Canada, a nation accustomed to winter's embrace, prepares for a potential escalation of its already formidable winter conditions. Imagine the vast expanse of the Canadian prairies blanketed in snow as temperatures plummet to bone-chilling lows. Cities like Winnipeg and Regina, known for their harsh winters, could experience record-breaking cold snaps and blizzard conditions. The Canadian Shield, a vast region of rocky outcrops and boreal forests, could see even more extreme cold, with temperatures potentially dropping below -40 degrees Celsius or -40 degrees Fahrenheit. These conditions can be life-threatening, particularly for those who work or venture outdoors unprepared. Coastal regions too are vulnerable to the impacts of a split polar vortex. Atlantic Canada could experience intense winter storms bringing heavy snowfall, strong winds, and coastal erosion. Section 7. Preparing for the unpredictable. While the exact impacts of a split polar vortex remain uncertain, one thing is clear: preparation is key to weathering the potential storm. Imagine reviewing your emergency kit, ensuring you have enough food, water, and warm clothing to last for at least 72 hours. Check your heating systems, stock up on winter supplies, and prepare your home for potential power outages. Stay informed about weather forecasts and warnings. Monitor local news and weather reports and sign up for emergency alerts to receive timely information about potential winter hazards. Remember, knowledge is power. By understanding the science behind the polar vortex and preparing for its potential impacts, we can face winter's challenges with greater resilience and preparedness. Section 8. The future of winter. As we brace ourselves for the potential impacts of a split polar vortex, it's important to remember that this event is not just a fleeting weather phenomenon. It's a reminder of the interconnectedness of our planet's climate system and the profound ways in which changes in one part of the system can ripple across the globe. The Arctic, once a remote and seemingly unchanging region, is warming at an alarming rate, twice as fast as the global average. This rapid warming is disrupting the delicate balance of the polar vortex, making events like splits more frequent and intense. As we look to the future, it's crucial that we address the root causes of climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and transitioning to a more sustainable way of life. By understanding the science of our planet and taking action to protect it, we can create a more resilient and sustainable future for ourselves and for generations to come.